What is going on, good people? Welcome into the Delmarva Sports Insider, the only live and local show dedicated to giving you all local sports all the time. I'm Sports Director Trayvon Miles.
And I'm Brandon Bosser. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. We've got a great show ahead of us.
That's right. Welcome to the greatest show in America. Brandon, we've got a ton to get through. Football season is finally on the horizon.
That is right, Trey. This is a great time of year. In less than 1 week, the high school football season on Delmarva will take flight.
Yeah, that's why we're taking it upon ourselves to get you ready for the year. Last Thursday, we began our high school football previews.
That's right. Our first trip was to the capital of the first state with the Dover Senators and their new man in charge.
The Dover Senators are coming off one of the roughest seasons to date in 2020, beginning the year 0-3 and finishing the season with a 2-4 overall mark. Dover comes in with a new game plan in 2021, including former Wesley head coach Chip Knapp taking over the head coaching duties for the Senators. Knapp will have his hands full having to replace plenty on offense, including do-it-all backfield star Qualik Brumbley. DSI will open up their season on Friday, September 3rd in an out-of-state matchup with Arundel High School in Maryland. Dover's biggest test will be closing out the regular season with 3 of their final 4 games at home, but against the likes of perennial playoff contenders like Sussex Central, Smyrna, William Penn, and Salesianum. All right, our next preview was from the only undefeated team in the Henlopen regular season in 2020. In the Henlopen North, I should say. Coach Mike Judy's squad was 5-0 entering the postseason when they ran into the Cardiac Kids and eventual state champion Sussex Central. But 2020's done. It's on to another year, a year in which the Eagles will have to replace Delaware Gatorade Player of the Year quarterback Aiden Sanchez. Well, Smyrna does, however, have some impactful transfers, and they bring back the super backfield combination of Wayne and Yamir Knight. Just like the times in the past, their ultimate success will depend on how good that defense is. The Eagles' season begins on September 4th when they travel to New Jersey to take on Bergen Catholic.
All right, next up, we have a team that has been down on their luck recently, but have the benefit of moving down in divisions this season after the realignment in DIAA. The Sussex Tech Ravens entered 2021 after one of their worst seasons in school history, finishing a shortened 2020 season 1-4, losing their first 4 games of the year by an average of nearly 27 points per game. But the team enters year 2 of the Brad Ellingsworth era and will look to improve upon a rocky start to his tenure. Sussex Tech will have some help in terms of scheduling this year. With the realignment of DIAA, the Ravens should be able to hang with much of their competition this season. The biggest test will come in week 4 when they host perennial playoff power Woodbridge in Georgetown. Sussex Tech's season kicks off on Friday when they make the short trip to Laurel High School to take on those Bulldogs.
Let's get to Seaford, Delaware. The Blue Jays will look to change their fortunes this year. They're second under longtime former Sussex Tech head coach Mark Quillen. The Jays finished 1-5 in Quillen's first season, but on the bright side, they did win their final game of the season, and the schedule appears to be more favorable than ever with that realignment. Seaford begins their season on Friday, September 3rd. Next Friday, they travel across state lines to Anne Arundel County to take on Southern High School in Harwood, Maryland.
All right, our next stop is at the beach in Lewis. The Cape Henlopen Vikings, hailing from Lewis, Delaware, are one of the up-and-coming programs in the state. Led by third-year man J.D. Mall, Cape had a winning record in 2020. First time that's happened since 2016, won 4 of their last 5 games of the season. The Vikings will have some work to do to replace all-conference running back Jaden Davis. But quarterback Henry D'Ambrosi returns to a team who lost just 6 seniors to graduation. Cape's season begins on Thursday. They host Salesianum at 7 p.m. in Lewis to kick off the Delaware high school season.
That's right. Our next stop takes us to Camden, Delaware. The Caesar Rodney Riders are under the direction of my man Dan Candelero. The Riders' season in 2020, pretty productive, I'll say. They started the year 4-0, but they finished just 5-2. And that was good, just enough to be outside of the playoff hunt. Now, 2020 was their most successful season since 2017, but I got a feeling they aren't just satisfied with finishing outside of the postseason. Caesar Rodney will be a new team this year, losing a number of seniors, including starting quarterback Tremere Woodland. But The Riders do bring back all-conference receiver DeAndre Cale, better known as the human highlight reel. CR kicks their season off on Thursday, September 2nd. They will host Hodgson at 7 p.m.
All right, let's round out Delaware with the champs. Sussex Central looked like they were down and out after a 1-2 start, but they went off to reel 6 straight wins, capturing the Division I state title. The team lost some key pieces to graduation, including the state's Defensive Player of the Year in Alton Dennis. Philip Stratton and Dion Stevens led the ground game for the Knights, as well as they have since left the team as well this season. Quarterback Zamir Gardner improved his game throughout the season in 2020. He will be the offensive leader as the Knights look to repeat as champs. Central is now a member of the Class 3A Division II, and one thing is for sure, and that's that Coach John Wells will have his guys ready no matter who is on the field for the Knights. Now, they are 42-11 since the middle of the 2015 season. They've been one of the most consistently competitive teams in the state, and they begin the season with William Penn in Georgetown coming up on Friday.
Yeah, Brandon, so out of all of these teams and knowing what the realignment looks like now, which teams do you expect to have the best turnaround, and which one ultimately do you think will be the best team?
Well, Trey, it's very interesting going into this season because obviously a total realignment. We've got teams like Charter going from Division I down to 3A, or 1A, I should say, the lowest level. But Laurel, I think, benefits most from this realignment, in my opinion. This is a team with some young talent on offense, and you can make a legitimate case that they are the top squad in 1A District 2 coming into the season by a pretty fair margin. They didn't have much of a chance to make the playoffs with the way things were aligned before in Division 2. But I think Laurel has a decent chance at a Class 1A title this season.
Very true. All right, we can't talk Delaware football without talking Maryland. For the first time, for the first right here, we're staying in Salisbury. The Y-High Tribe enjoyed one of their more successful seasons in the spring, and they're going to be looking to capitalize on that going forward. Y-High went 5-2 in the shortened spring season, finished as one of the best teams in the Bayside South, led by that guy, Isaiah Taylor. The Tribe has improved every year in his tenure, and they look to take their largest step this season. Now, unlike the spring, the expectations are back upon this program, and they will undoubtedly have a target on their back with the best running back in the South, all-conference performer B.J. Cook, returning to that backfield. Well, just 4 months ago, Y-High was the only team in the South to beat division-leading Decatur. The Seahawks held the Seahawks, to a season-low 12 points in that matchup, so that defense was really good. Their season will kick off on September the 3rd when they travel to take on Colonel Richardson.
All right, let's talk about Colonel Richardson next.
Let's do it.
The Colonels finishing a promising 4-3 last season in the first year under James Jackson. Now, this team did lose a big talent in Elijah Palmer, but they do have some skilled returning players like seniors Cam Erickson and Hunter Wolf, and of course, junior quarterback Cam Lake, all of whom made the Bayside North Conference team back in the spring. Erickson was a great player on both sides of the ball last season for CR. The offense flowed through him at running back, and he made big plays in the backfield as linebacker, anchoring that defense as well. The Colonels play Y-High on September 3rd on Friday, and then Ken Island on September 10th, and look for them to build off the success from this past spring.
All right, let's go back down south to the Snow Hill Eagles. The Eagles went winless in the spring of 2021, but they look to build upon that. For Dietrich Downing, the head coach of the Eagles, more kids have shown interest in playing in recent years. And when you have a program with low numbers, that's what it's all about. It could be leading to the school fielding a more competitive team. The team will actually play Cambridge South Dorchester on September 10th.
All right, going a little further north on Delmarva, our next high school football preview takes us to the northernmost part of the Bayside Conference. That's Wharton, Maryland. The Kent County Trojans are technically still in the first year of head coach Brian Aiken's tenure, as he took over around this time a year ago. In his first season as head coach in the spring, Kent went just 1-5 with their lone win coming over Snow Hill. Kent will look to replace all-conference quarterback Thomas Goldsboro, who did a lot in that spread offense a year ago. The Trojan season begins on Friday against Bohemia Manor.
All right, our next stop, one of the more historic programs in the Bayside Conference. The Cambridge South Dorchester Vikings are nearly a shoo-in for the 1A playoffs each and every single year. The Vikings went 5-2 in the spring, and they'll look to be even better this coming fall. Toby Pierce, stepping in for Gavin Parker, is one of the newest head coaches in the conference, and he inherits a roster with a lot of turnover due to graduation. But one thing we do know about CSD, that roster does not rebuild, it reloads. Tons of talent there in Dorchester County, and their season will begin across state lines as well. CSD will travel to Milford, Delaware on September the 3rd. They'll take on the Buccaneers. Kickoff an early one, set for 5 p.m.
All right, let's stop in with the Warriors now in Easton, Maryland. Easton was the Kings of the North and the Bayside in the spring. EHS going 5-0 with wins over rival Cambridge and South leader Stephen Decatur. Coach Pat McGlinchey will again lead his guys, but they will have to replace plenty of talent they lost to graduation, including the incredible player, 3A Offensive Player of the Year Ryan O'Connor at quarterback, talented receiver Grant Copper, and plenty of others that lined up for the 2021 senior class. Easton was one of the most electric offensive teams last year, and they will look to replicate that success this year with a brand new cast. Their season gets underway on Friday. They'll take on the Bucks up in Kent Island.
And our final team in Maryland tonight also happens to be the most successful team over the last decade. The North Carolina program has been the standard in the Bayside Conference for some time. The last time they were in the playoffs in 2019, the Dogs lost in the state quarterfinals to the eventual state champion in Middletown. Last spring, they were only 3-2. We know North Carolina is never usually near 500, but they had a lot of young guys, and they used that spring to get those guys experience so they can go out and compete for a postseason spot this fall. It all starts in exactly 1 week when they will travel to take on the Queen Anne's Lions.
You know, Trey, I remember North Carolina going 3-2 back in the spring, and their final game was against Colonel, and we were thinking, man, can Colonel keep up with them?
Yeah.
And North Carolina came out 48-6.
Yeah.
I expect them to be among the top leaders in the Bayside again. But, hey, this is going to be a very interesting season. We did have a spring season, of course, but it was more of an exhibition than what we saw in Delaware. We saw some great things over in Berlin this spring. So I'll be watching Decatur closely. I think they have a chance to take the Bayside by storm this season.
You know what? Out of all of these teams, I'm honestly really looking at Y-High. They are a team that took big strides in the spring. Now that the expectations are there, what do they do? What do they do? The other team is North Carolina. Coach James McCormick told us in the spring that he was using that season in particular to kind of feel some things out. So North Carolina went 3-2 a few months ago. They lost to some teams that we hadn't seen them lose to in a while, like Easton, but I definitely think they return to form this fall.
Trey, I'm really hoping for you that Y-High, we see them pulling out some W's this coming fall.
I absolutely agree. All right, that'll do it for the A Block. When we come back, we're checking out another episode of After the Whistle. That and much more when the Delmarva Sports Insider returns.
This is Coach McCormick from North Carolina High School, and you're watching Delmarva Sports Insider.